Now, when I saw that Wicked had released the Man Spider, I was excited, to put it mildly. It's my favourite storyline in Spider-Man, where he grows 6 arms, becomes all ravenous and monstery, and wow, that's what we've made today. Thank you, Wicked. Thank you so much for making that. I've really enjoyed putting it together and painting it, and I hope you enjoy the process. Subscribe to the channel if you do like what you see, and if you want to buy anything from the channel, paints, bits and pieces, it's all in the item description, and it's another way of just supporting me to make these videos for you guys. So hope you enjoy the Man Spider, and stay tuned. Well, you've guessed it, we're using some Army Painter air primer. It is really important to prime your models when you've just taken them off your printer. You can paint directly onto resin, but it's always best to prime it. The paint sticks better and you do get a better finish. Now, I'm doing an awful lot of my spider in a kind of brown dry brush on top of black, so that black primer is imperative for what I'm gonna need for this. Wicked have done an amazing print with this, not something I thought I'd ever see in a 3D print, because it's a little bit of an obscure Spider-Man storyline, but one of my favourites. If you've ever seen a film as well called Earth vs. the Spider, it's very similar to this, and if you haven't seen it, don't watch it with the kids, but it's a great B movie. I definitely recommend you catch it. Right, taking some pure red for his costume, because don't forget Spidey, or Man Spider, has still got some of the costume left, and I'm just going to use my airbrush to spray on the uniform on his costume here. You've got to be a little bit careful, obviously. I don't want to get it all over the black, but in the same token you get a much better finish if you use the airbrush to pop it on above using your brush. Now, I've painted this bit red, and as you'll see a little bit later on, it should be blue, so a real moment, but you can't win them all. Those bits obviously are red on his uniform there, and I'm going to go over it with a brush just to tidy up the edges when I get to the paintbrush stage, but on the whole now I'm just taking my time. I am using a very fine technique with the airbrush, and I'm just trying to keep it on the uniform and off the black as much as I can. You're going to get some overspill, you've got to accept that, but I'm trying to keep it to a minimum. And you can see the uniform coming together nicely. Same again on his legs. The bottom part here are black, and I'm not going to go over all the webbing, so I'm just giving him a light coat of red over the black so that the black will shine through a little bit. Now, you can, if you want to, put some inks in there and go through it. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to take it away from the fact that it's the Man Spider, and I just want you to concentrate really when it's all done and dusted on his face and his arms, so I didn't get too mad on the uniform. Right, for the blue, I'm using Amiga blue. All these paints are Army Painter paints, and I'm using exactly the same technique in my airbrush. They're Army Painter air paints, so no need to water them down at all. And I'm using the same technique, as I say, to go over the blue areas, and I'm going to leave some of the black coming through just to allow a little bit of shadow and a little bit of depth to materialise in his uniform there. And don't forget, if you want to buy the paints that you see me using, or you want to buy the materials that you can see me using in these videos, and you're not quite sure which ones I'm getting or where to get them from, there's a link in the description, and as an Amazon affiliate, a little bit of the money that you pay comes back to the channel and allows me to continue to do these videos, but it doesn't cost you a penny more, I promise you that. So I'm using the blue, as you saw, the Amiga blue, just to do the blue bits of the internal bits of his uniform. And don't worry, I am going to take a brush a little bit later on and just tidy up those edges. Now, that was the bit I did red, and now I'm going to do it the right colour, which should, of course, be blue. Now, the red and the blue paints that I'm used are all parts of the Army Painter Air Mega Set, and they're designed for an airbrush, so I haven't had to water them down at all. And also the Archangel Red is also from the same set. Now, this Archangel Red as a base colour, it's more of an orange than a red, but it's really, really good for brickwork. So what I'm going to do is just bladder that across any area where I can see bricks. And don't forget, this base has got 2 sides to it, a front and a back, so make sure you don't forget to do the back as well. And you can see that's a really good brick colour. It's not the last bit we're going to do on it, but it's a good colour on its own. Now I'm going to take 5 minutes to just tidy up the edges where I've overspilt the spray onto the black, because the next stage is going to be some dry brushing, and I want to make sure that all the bits of his furry, spidery, skinny bits are the same colour so that I can get that brown on in an even layer. Now for the concrete on the base, I'm using some grey and I'll mix it with just a tiny bit of yellow, and this just gives you a concrete kind of look, and I'm going to splatter that right across all the areas that I need to look like concrete or stone. And again, not the final layer at all, but it's a great base layer for that that stone look on the model. And again, don't forget there's two sides to the model, so get it all across there and on there, and leave a bit of black shining through. That's not a problem. Now for the spider furry skinny bits, I'm going to use this bugbear brown, and it's almost a dry brush technique. I'm putting it on, I'm getting a little bit off the brush, but I'm not getting, as I would with a dry brush, 95% of it off. I want the black to show through, but I do want him to be predominantly brown, and so I'm just taking off about 50% of the paint, or I'm just putting a tiny bit on, and then I'm spreading that paint out quite evenly across the model. You can see it's almost a dry brushing technique there, isn't it? Leave the black showing through. It's not the final layer that I'm going to do on the fur, but I'm sure you agree. Just these simple techniques make such a difference to your model, and on top of black we've got a great fur effect, very similar to what I used when I did my werewolf model from Wicked a little bit earlier on in the year. Don't forget the knees, very important. Those knees are sticking out with furry spider skin too, so don't forget them. Now my favourite ever Army Painter paint skeleton bone is going to be used to go over the claws, and I'm going to go over his teeth, the mandibles, anything like that is going to get a base layer of this colour, and I love this colour, absolutely love it. It's got so many uses. You can see me here going over his mandibles, exactly the same. I didn't catch doing the teeth and the little bits around his mouth, but it's the same process in exactly the same paint. Now for his eyes, I'm going to give them some speed paint red afterwards, so I want a good base primer layer. So what I'm going to do is go over them with white. Now make sure that you get all the eyes. There's shed loads of them on this creation, so get all the eyes, give them a good layer of white, and that will act as your base layer for the red that we're going to be putting on in a bit. And there they go, that's what they look like. You can see also I've done all the teeth, and I've also put some pink in the mouth as well, just to add a little bit of contrast. Now the magic ingredient is this speed paint pallid bone. On top of skeleton bone, it gives fantastic claw and teeth effects, and now you can see all of them are done, and look at that wonderful dirty, grimy kind of look that it's given them. And there it is, just going onto his toenails, his big feet claws, whatever you want to call them. The blood red I'm going to use for the eyes. Again, this is one of the speed paints from Army Painter. I just love the speed paints, and I'm sorry I say that pretty much every video, but I love them, I really do. They're fantastic, and I want to elope with the speed paints. Just dollop them on there, and you'll see straight away that the paint will sort of pool in the deeper areas of the eyes, and in the outer areas it'll be lighter. And I've given it 2 coats. Once it's dried, I'll give it another coat, but I just literally dolloped it on the top to get a darker area on the top too. And I'm moving back to my favourite, my skeleton bone there, and my camera shifted here, so my apologies, I didn't catch the whole process, but you can see that I'm using a big brush and I'm dry brushing skeleton bone over the brown for the last result on the skin. Taking some strong tone now, I'm going to work back on the base, and I'm literally going to put this over the concretey areas. It's easy to do, just literally dollop it on, get a big brush and move it around. I love speed paints. The Army Painter does these, and they do lots and lots of different colours, from a flesh colour, a green, a blue, a red, but this is just the strong tone, and it just grimes and dirties everything up really well. And this is how easy it is. Dollop it on, get a big brush, and away you go. No skill required, just lots of fun. I've used a bit of silver on a dry brush just to go over the plaques that you can see there, and I'm doing the same again for the floor, for the base, for the metal work. Now, you heard me say a little bit earlier that I'm not too fussed about the spider webs, and we'll come back to them after we've done a little bit of rust effect, and it's just orangey rust colour onto it. Now, for the spider webs, I'm using these tumble dry sheets. These are great. Make sure you use a used one, and when you get it out of your tumble dryer, it's come apart a little bit anyway, but all you need to do is pull it apart, and if you pull it and you sort of separate all the bits and pieces of it, it starts to look like spider web. Now, I have ordered some of the Green Stuff World spider webbing, but it didn't come in time, so I thought let's use the technique that I know works, and we'll apply this. You will be amazed at the results of this, and where the spider web is on the model, I've just put in a dollop of glue at the top and the bottom, and I'm just going to literally lay it on, and it is as simple as that. Self-made instant spider webbing, piece of cake. There you go. Pull it apart, pop a bit of glue on where you want it to start, where you want it to finish, and apply that spider webbing that you've just created. Wonderful. Look at that. Okay, now that's on, we're all finished. I hope you enjoy the final product, and stay tuned for the next video.